I'm gonna be real. It is really difficult for me to stick with things and figure out what it is that I want to do in life. I have a tendency to be a serial quitter, and I wish that there was a video like this for a past version of myself. So if you happen to be in a similar boat, then I think this will help give you a lot of clarity on how to overcome this problem in 4 steps. But before I dive into the 4 steps, I just want to give a little bit of background. So there was a video that I did recently about quitting UX design, and there was a comment that I got, and I'm gonna read it to you here. It says, so you started UX, it got tough, you quit. You started Webflow, didn't even last a year, and quit. I'll see you in a few months when you venture into another niche. Can't wait for your next awakening. Oof, that stung. I'm not gonna lie, that comment stung. And you know, the first tendency or the first reaction I had was to get defensive and try to defend myself. But at the end of the day, he was right. And a lot of the things that I started along this YouTube journey, I have quit. And so it's very easy for me to want to dismiss that comment. You know, there's a lot of advice to, you know, dismiss all of the negative comments that you get. I'm gonna take this off, it's actually getting kind of hot. Dismiss all the negative comments. But to me, I've sort of learned that there's some negative comments that I can brush aside because they just don't impact me in any way. But this one struck an emotional chord with me, and I find that if there's something negative that someone says that hits me in the chest and I feel some sort of emotional reaction to it, then that means that there's probably some truth to it, and it's something that I need to evaluate. And I pretty much found that with his case. So in a brief nutshell, I started this channel to document my journey with UX design. I quit that. I then started figuring out how I might be able to do freelance UX design. Ended up quitting that. And then I started doing Webflow, thinking I would do freelance for that. I quit that. And so it was just sort of this series of quitting journeys. And so that really caused me to reflect on, one, why is it that I keep doing this? And two, how do I overcome this? Because this is a serious problem. So I want to give you the 4 steps that I sort of realized, or the 4 things, but I guess you could probably take these in steps as well to overcome this problem of being a serial quitter. So the first thing I sort of realized is that every journey is going to suck, no matter what. You can pick something that you are supremely interested in, but if you decide to go all in on it, it is going to suck. So when it came to UX design, I loved learning it in the beginning. But when it came to going all in on it, there becomes a point to where you start to get past the beginner gains and it becomes really tough. And the rewards that you get for the effort that you put in are very small. And so it becomes very difficult to continue with that. The same thing happened with me when I tried to do freelance Webflow design. And the same thing happens for pretty much any path that I picked in life. There was a point in my life where I wanted to do music production as a career, and I reached that exact same point. And so there is a point where in the beginning of learning any sort of skill that you want to learn and eventually become really good at, in the beginning, it's very easy to enjoy it because you're learning all these new novel things that you get all these little dopamine hits that reward you to keep going. But at some point, there becomes a time where you no longer get those dopamine hits because the effort that it takes to get better or to actually see success becomes vast. And that's sort of the stage that you get to from becoming an intermediate at whatever skill or craft that you're pursuing to becoming an expert. That's what you have to get over, is no matter what you pick, the journey is going to suck if you want to stick with it. And so just knowing that is helpful because it allows me to figure out, well, what is the thing that I most enjoy doing? Or even more importantly, what do I not want to make suck? So one of the reasons I decided not to go into music production as a career is because I don't want that to suck. I want that to be a hobby that I enjoy. And so I don't want to get to that point where, oh man, it's like a drudgery to get through this. I'd rather that be something else so that I can keep music production as that sort of hobby that I don't feel pressure to monetize. And so the thing that supposedly will happen, and I'm hoping that it will, is that whatever path that you pick, once you embrace the suck, so to speak, you will get to a point to where you achieve success with that and it will become fun again. And I am kind of along that path now. I'm not on the other side of that, but I'm getting to that, like with doing this YouTube channel and doing web design. So the second thing is that I sort of learned, and the second step is take the pressure off. Like, you don't have to pick the right path right out of the gate. And I think this is the thing that really I put a lot of pressure on myself to do, is I tell myself, I need to pick the perfect path. I need to pick the right path for me, and it has to be it. And it doesn't. It doesn't have to be the right path out of the gate. Pick something, go for it, and see if it resonates with you. And even if you quit, you're gonna learn something from that. And from that, you will naturally evolve into the next iteration of what it is that you need to do. So I don't regret any of the past choices that I made in terms of figuring out a life path, because each of those things of UX design and doing freelance work, I learned a little bit from each of those things that helped me to evolve what it is that I actually do want to do. And so that kind of leads me to number 3, is reverse engineer what you want your life to look like. So every time you quit something, there is a reason that you quit. So with UX design, I quit that because I didn't want a job. I thought that, so I'm a physical therapist currently by day, and so I thought that if I switched careers into something else, it would be enjoyable and it would bring me happiness, all that sort of stuff. And I realized from that I don't actually want a job. I wanted to do something on my own. And so I learned something from that. That was a nugget that I could take with me into something else. Another thing that I learned from doing a little bit of web design, freelance web design, is that I don't like designing for other people. I don't find that to be very fun. And so I learned from that I don't want to do freelance work. So whatever it is that I do in the future, it's probably not going to be super related to doing freelance. So every little thing that you quit, know that yes, you need to pursue in order to get past that. But even if you do quit a certain path, you will probably have learned something that you can take with you when you embark on your next path. And so thinking about that, you can sort of reverse engineer what you want your life to look like. So for me, one of the things I have sort of like 3 values that I base my future career off of, which is 1, I want to be able to, whatever I do to make a living and make money, I want it to be something that I can do remotely. Number 2, I want it to be something where I'm able to make money off of my creativity. And number 3 is I want to be able to do it on my own, so I don't want a job. And so those are sort of the metrics that I look at when it comes to figuring out a life path for me. And so I think the more that you go along and trying out different things, you sort of will create your own value system of what you want out of life, and that will filter out your options into something that you can ultimately choose and stick with. All right, so the last one is, I think very important, is finding accountability. This is number 4. So I find that for me, it is very difficult to stay accountable to myself. This sounds sad, whatever. It's very easy for me to give up on myself, but I find that I'm very, very accountable to other people. Like when I'm in like communities, and if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If I have like an accountability partner and I tell them I'm going to do something, I'm gonna do it because I don't want to let them down, because I will feel bad about myself. But when I'm only accountable to myself, there's not that much guilt, right? And so I think if you're kind of operate similarly, then it's really important to find a community that is aimed at achieving whatever goal it is that you want to be able to do. Like, for example, I have a community that helps people to launch their YouTube channel. And so that's really neat, because I think it helps people to stay accountable to each other and not give up on their dreams of building a YouTube channel. And frankly, it stays accountable to me because I see all the work that they're doing on their channel, and it makes me want to work more on my channel. And there's definitely a big community effect when it comes to staying accountable. And so I think if you just try to stay accountable to your own, no matter how much willpower you have, it's just a lot more difficult. And so I think these things have sort of helped me to find just a way to stick with things better and to not be a serial quitter. And I think one of the prime examples of that is me sticking with this YouTube channel. There's a lot of times where it sucks, and it does, and like, I love doing YouTube, but it can be difficult to come up with content ideas. It can be difficult for me to show up and be on camera and speak. Like, I'm an introvert by nature, and like, honestly, I think this might be the first time I've actually spoken words today to people, and it's 4 p.m. I don't think I've even spoken to another human today. And so there was a lot of willpower that I needed to do to be able to show up and do this video, but it's something that I think would be super helpful to a past version of myself, and ideally maybe helpful to you as well. And so I think just finding something where you're able to stick through the suck and get to the other end. And for me, doing this YouTube channel, I think, is a prime example of sticking through the suck, because I get a lot more joy doing this channel than there are, I don't want to say drawbacks. There are more joyful moments than there are sucky moments. And that only happened because I've been doing this consistently for 2 years. And so I think that that's going to be the case no matter what path you pick in life. And so I think just having sort of these 4 ideas that I mentioned today, I hope will be helpful for you going forward. So yeah, I think that's all I got. Yeah, quick plug. If you are interested in starting a YouTube channel where you can just share your authenticity and where you are the niche and you don't have to niche down into a particular topic, then be sure to check that out. It's a free community. There's a link in the description below. And yeah, otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. I'll talk to you later. Bye.